Speeding again. All right.
Are you getting cut off?
No, I'm not cut
No.
off.
All right.
So it's focused on you. So.
Welcome to Xander's Rants. Today I am with my friend Michael, and we're gonna talk about 2018 movies.
You invited me on this show, and I didn't even know what this thing was called. So I'm learning for the first time that it's called Xander's Rants. But yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, even though it's second take, but
Second take. We don't have to tell people that. Shh.
These are the 3 movies I tried to watch, and I gave up after Act 1, basically, when Act 1 was done to 24 minutes.
Okay, so what are they?
Yeah, how do you say this? Roma?
Roma.
So I tried to watch Roma. It's I believe it's directed by the person who did Children of Men.
Yes, Children of Men, and he also did his most recent one. Wasn't it was it Gravity? Is that his most recent one?
I believe he did Gravity.
He did Gravity for sure.
Yeah, I haven't watched that, but yeah, he I guess it's definitely trying to be like Children of Men, but the difference is that Children of Men had an inciting incident, and this one didn't. And it was you're just watching some lady do her housework for 24 minutes.
I heard, I haven't seen it, but from what I have heard about it, I think it's kind of going back to Et tu Mama Tambien, those days. That's one of his earlier works. Then that one's basically these 3 people going on a road trip, and they're just kind of observing Mexico. Is it kind of similar to that? It's just kind of they just kind of go, and they don't really have a focus except for to get to, I think, the beach, but it's really not about that. It's about their relationships.
There was no road trip in the first 24 minutes. I don't know what happens after. I seen the trailer, so I know that there's some revolution or something that happens later in the movie, and I don't know. But I don't know. If I was in the theater, I would obviously be forced to watch the entire movie and probably think it's a masterpiece. But because I watched it at home, and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't really. I don't know, and I wasn't really in the mood to watch that type of movie, but basically, it also I think the biggest issue I have with it is that the way he frames his shots is all wide shots, especially at least so far in the movie. It's all wide shots, and it feels really impersonal. These type of movies, or at least if I'm watching a movie about a character's struggles and long stretches of time where they're just doing something, even though there wasn't actually that much stretch of time in this specific movie, but yeah, it's a wide angle lens, and you just watch her walk in. It's like a painting. Watch her in the background, and then her doing stuff, and then, but yeah, so that's kind of it. And you're like, I don't really know how she's feeling or thinking. I think it's starting to get to it in the 24-minute mark, but I feel like that's Act 1 is done. I should already know your character motivation, and I don't.
So based on the first 24 minutes, you're telling me that if you had to give someone a plot summary, it would be woman in it's in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Woman in Mexico cleans for 24 minutes, and it's in black and white, right?
Yeah.
And so, and mainly lots of wide shots so that you can't really see the character's face, and it kind of just unfolds like a stage play or a painting. I heard it looks good though.
Sort of.
I heard it looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he might win an Oscar this year because he's the cinematographer as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I don't know. I can only imagine that it gets a lot better later.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. I mean, because Children of Men is mainly famous for those 2 scenes.
Oh, the one when he's the super long shots, right?
Yeah, the car ride and the walking through the city. Those are the 2 main things that he's famous for. And I can only assume there's something similar here that I haven't seen yet.
I heard there's this dance sequence or something.
Yep, I didn't get there. So yes.
Because I know in Gravity as well, it begins with that it's a 15-minute one take, and then it's just Sandra Bullock floating around in space, and they choreograph the whole thing so well. But I guess we didn't get to that part.
You know what was one take was the beginning credits of a floor. that was like 5 minutes long.
So you're just looking at a floor for 5 minutes.
And then you see water washing because she's cleaning lady.
I see.
So
I do still want to check it out because he is a really good filmmaker, but I also haven't seen it yet just because I know what it probably is gonna be like, and I feel like I have to be in a very specific mood, one where where I've had a lot of coffee so I can appreciate it and not fall asleep.
Yeah, well, I wasn't in that mood, so
yeah,
I'm sure I'll like it, maybe not love it, but
okay. All right,
let's
cool.
move on. Do you have anything that you
let me see.
were disappointed by?
Disappointed, or like I guess so. One thing I really wanted to like a lot was Ready Player One. And like I read the book Ready Player One, or I guess I audiobooked it. Is that the same? I feel like one thing that they didn't really manage to capture in the movie that they got in the story was that it didn't feel like there were any real stakes in the movie. Like because in the story, in the book, right, they spend all this time kind of setting up that like the world of the Oasis is like if you die in the Oasis, you basically die in real life. And when I watched the movie, it was like you die in the Oasis, who cares? Did you feel that way, or?
I think you might be remembering from the book.
Really?
They did not. This is not Sword Art Online. They don't die. It's just the stake was their progress gets erased.
But the thing was that
they died later in the story because people were killing them.
Yeah, so
that's a completely different stake.
The stakes. But then so the thing is that so the main character invests like millions of hours playing this video game, and they made sure to like the reader to actually know that fact. And so I feel like when you die, you realize how much time you've wasted that you can never get back, which I guess you can't show training in a movie effectively anyway. So I feel like they didn't really capture how much effort and how much meaning that this world meant to the people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think and this is all going to be spoilers here, so especially for this movie because I was really disappointed in this movie as well. But the main two things that I was really annoyed about is that well, actually three things. But the first thing is the first, what was it? The race to get the first key. All you have to do was hit reverse on your car.
Yes.
And you win. And in the movie summary, 15 years, nobody figured that out. And I guess you could say all the non-gamers I talked to that watched it were totally fine with it. They're like, oh yeah, that was clever, and they had to do this riddle. It's like my two sentences of Ready Player One is Steven Spielberg does not understand video games or Japan. So that's basically my review. But basically, it's like if you know anything about video game speedruns online or any of that stuff, there's absolutely no way somebody wouldn't have already tried that within the first hour. Like 5 minutes probably. Or I've seen people play games where literally the first thing they do is they don't go forward. They literally turn around and run the other way because they want to see if they could. Like there's no way that if you're actually understand how gamers work, that it wouldn't have been solved in the first 5 minutes.
No, I agree with you because it's like one of the other things that I didn't like about the movie is that just in general it felt way too easy. It's like all the obstacles that they had were easily overcome, and it's just like, oh cool. Well, I mean like you were saying, like we'll just do this one thing that no one has ever tried before. Like I mean they could have at least set up some sort of more danger about going backwards, which is why you don't go backwards, and or maybe they should have put a wall there.
Yeah. Well, I mean there was a wall there, but the biggest issue with the contest thing is that the last game they put in the last game cartridge, and they had 30 people that are paid interns or whatever it is that are supposedly super scholar gamers, and they couldn't figure out, oh, the very first Easter egg that was made was in that game. And that's what the main character did to solve it. That made no sense. It's like dude, like you have 30 plus people that you're paying to like solve your cube, and they couldn't figure out the yeah, you're literally trying to solve an Easter egg. You would think that the first thing they're going to think about, if they have been studying this for the last 15 years and they've been paid to actually try to solve this, that would literally be the first thing they did. I mean, granted that girl knew, but
would you have been happier if the the paid people had solved it?
Well, I would have been happier if that wasn't the last puzzle. That doesn't make any sense for it to be the last puzzle. That wasn't hard at all. Although, granted, in the book, the last puzzle in the book was kind of dumb too, but at least that made sense. It was reciting lines, Mighty Python, I think.
Yeah, it was.
I think that was the last one.
It was like you're like in a movie, right? And you have to like say all the lines of the different characters in order to pass a level.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was, right?
Yeah, and then some people complain like, "Oh, that's stupid." Like that's why
really
that's why they took it out. But it's like that's harder than what they did.
That sounds so incredibly difficult. Like I mean, like I'm sure like actors and actresses must spend like months memorizing your lines or something, but
I don't know, because I do know people that at least have claim that they can recite The Princess Bride, and I think The Holy Grail as well, which is the movie that the contest in the book.
Yeah.
But
I think the Easter egg in the book, they were a lot harder to get. Like I remember the first one, you had to like go into that like hidden dungeon which no one had found, and then you had to go through like a whole bunch of different things. But I see why they cut it. It's just too complicated to.
Well, I don't think it's actually that complicated. I feel like the amount of screen time they use for that dumb race could have easily been used for this. Like, it was, to be honest, that dumb race probably should have been the last thing, and it should have been like a cooler thing. Like they had to glitch or something. Yeah. Like they had to glitch the game to actually beat it.
Didn't they also cut out like the whole part where like you go to school in the Oasis and it's like like the Oasis is
yeah. So in the book,
because that's a more of like, well, life is the Oasis, and they didn't, in the movie it was just like hunt for the 3 Easter eggs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like whatever, because there's too much stuff in there anyways. But the problem, I mean, I think the reason they axed the first challenge because it actually required the main character. The reason he was able to solve it was because he went to the school that was right next to the first Easter egg.
Yeah.
That like and he was able to figure that out eventually because he basically quote unquote lived in the vicinity.
Yeah.
And then that's why. And the biggest difference is that in the book versus in the movie. In the movie, it's apparently like just like maybe like a country size thing, or like it's like different servers, but like in the book, it's like planets. You get to go to different planets. So everybody's spread out throughout planets. So it's not even just like one central country or location or whatever it is. I
agree with that. I mean, like I think everything in the book was just a lot harder. And then, which is why it seemed like it was way more difficult, and you're kind of way more invested in this character's journey.
Yeah, I will have to bring up that a lot of people complain about the writing in the book, and the constant, like, he's like, oh, I know how to solve this. I read 100 of the things, and I'm such a nerd.
He was. Do you think he should have been more nerdy in real life in the movie? Because I mean, that character doesn't look very nerdy to me.
I mean, it's Cyclops. So he
didn't look that nerdy to me. The girl also didn't look that nerdy either to me.
Yeah, none of those.
Nope.
Like and some people argue with me that the guy was homaging Steven Spielberg, so having Steven do it, then of course he's gonna do it the way he's gonna do it. But I was like, yeah, but I think you missed the point. Is a homage to Steven Spielberg. He shouldn't have made the movie if he was gonna do it. If he was just gonna do whatever the heck he wants with it and phone it in.
He also cut out all the references to Steven Spielberg in the movie, didn't he?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I can get why he would do that, because it's kind of weird to like pay reference to yourself. But I mean, it's.
But the problem is, other than the two things in there, the only two things that like made sense is the not really make sense, but the Back to the Future thing was was at least his friend, and he actually cared about the what's his name, the Shining guy.
Oh yeah,
that was like, at least that was interesting. It wasn't actually that great. My biggest issue is that the Mecha Godzilla fight. The Mecha Godzilla went down like a punk. Like, the whole point in the book is that Mecha Godzilla is so overpowered. There were spaceships too, so there was like Starcraft, the battle cruisers, and like all this like crazy stuff that was like shooting at Mechagodzilla. He just blew them all out of the way. He just destroyed everything. Like, that was the point. That was kind of the point. And then he had to transform into Ultraman to fight him, and that's a reference to Ultraman fighting Godzilla, or like that never really happened. So though Ultraman did fight something that looked like Godzilla, and Godzilla fought something that looked like Ultraman. So that was kind of the point.
Yeah, like,
that was homage. Like I said, AKA Steven Spielberg does not understand Japan. Like, so it's like, it's basically a power, since most people in America won't understand this, so I'll just phrase it. It's supposed to be like a Power Rangers episode. You know, they get all beat, and then he has that last power that he can beat them with. Like, that was literally the point. Like, the Gundam is completely useless because it's the first Gundam. The first Gundam is so weak. There's no way he can hurt Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, like, I literally don't remember anything about that final fight, which was how inconsequential it felt to me, you know, which I guess pretty much backs up your point about, like, well, this, you know, ultra powerful, you know, humanoid robots. Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah, Mechagodzilla literally got destroyed because she threw a grenade on its head, or like she shot like a hole and then threw a grenade into Mechagodzilla's head. Like that would never. Mechagodzilla is more stronger than the original Godzilla, and the original Godzilla can survive an atomic bomb. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Your grenade is not gonna hurt it.
Yeah.
You know. But anyways.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yep.
The other movies that I watched like 20 minutes and stopped was A Quiet Place.
Okay.
What do you call it? In terms of the set design and like the creativity that the people invested into how things worked, looked interesting enough, but knowing what happens in it, because I watched it recently, or I watched it in 2019, and like knowing what happens later and all the inconsistencies that I hear people complain about that movie, the atmosphere and the set design didn't follow me through with it. It was kind of boring, like, because I know that the payoff would suck.
I see.
You know?
I actually didn't see it, so I can't comment. Yeah. But I heard it was very intense and scary, and you know, I heard all those stories about like people would yell at you if you're eating too loudly in the movie theater or something.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I probably would like it if I actually watched it in the theater.
Yeah,
but
it's a very suspenseful piece, is what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's see. So I tried watching 8th grade. I think I watched. Yeah, I watched
20
like
minutes,
20 minutes of it,
right.
and then I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Wait, which part did you get up to? Because I actually really liked 8th grade.
I got up to where she went to the party.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, this is too awkward.
it was incredibly awkward, but I feel like that was the point. You know, it was kind of like, I really liked how the movie brought to life all like the awkwardness, but it felt like it was like a horror film a little bit at times. It was like, oh crap, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, it was so suspenseful, and I feel like the filmmaker really managed to bring all that and package it in this like 8th grade movie. I really liked it. I mean, like when we got to the party, I was just like, you know, there wasn't a whole lot that actually happened at the party, but every single little moment, I feel like they really capitalized on the feeling with the music, especially, and that slow motion. You know, all those sort of different slow motion shots.
I didn't actually watch it
So
to the party. I
see.
stopped right, or I got to the party and then I stopped.
Okay, okay.
Or more like I fast forward
Yeah.
and then I saw nothing really happens throughout the entire rest of the movie. So I'm just like, okay, well, you know. But I mean, I understand what I think I understand what the message and stuff is, but I just didn't care. Well, the other thing is that my thing is that I get very what was it secondhand embarrassment. I think that's what you call it.
Yeah.
I get that a lot, and I really dislike watching things that I feel really embarrassed for the character.
Yeah.
And if the entire movie is about that, especially
the fear of
about
embarrassment,
high school or like about
middle
school or school, it's just like unless like there's like something else to it, like comedy or or at least
it's pretty
outrageous
it's pretty
comedy,
drama.
I guess.
Yeah, it's
it's very serious.
Yeah, it's very serious.
I mean, it's there's like weird jokes in it, but I guess it's not the same. It's not like an anime that's why I like anime slice of life because you can be really overly dramatically sad and then the next scene is like someone's slapping you in the face and then you destroy a wall.
Oh, I actually really dislike that. Like I hate it when they go into bouts of like silly rage or do slapstick comedy anime. But I feel like I'm just getting I've grown past that phase for me anyways. But
well,
yeah.
I think what you're thinking of is different than what I'm thinking of, or is used differently.
Maybe, yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, I really liked 8th grade. Yeah. It was. I do agree. It's not super high concept or anything. There's no if someone pitched me that movie, I'd be like, huh, all right. Girl survives the last week of being in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
It did feel like. The way it was shot a little weird though to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But you can I don't know. Maybe for you it just add to it.
I feel like it added to the awkwardness. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting was when they would start in a very close up shot of someone. And then they would slowly zoom out, and then this is just basically to kind of show the main characters what she's seeing, and then to kind of reveal the whole scene. And because it was so slow with such intense music, it felt very awkward and kind of scary a little bit. But I could see, I mean, it is a very interesting shot, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Guess I didn't get to that, but
I guess not. I mean, I would recommend you to go check that one out again, but who knows?
I don't know. Well, one of my friends that knows me pretty well, and she's a teacher and stuff, so she watched the movie and because she likes anime and stuff too, so she was just like, yeah, this is not your type of movie. And if anybody, I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna trust her.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Anyways, let's moving on to.
You know what came out this year that was actually pretty good? Paddington 2. And it currently has the highest rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 100%. Can you believe that?
I don't believe anything on Rotten Tomatoes. That gave a terrible score to Unbreakable, and my friend just outright refused to watch Unbreakable because Rotten Tomatoes gave it a bad score.
So I definitely... That movie didn't really pique my interest in it or anything, but my dad went and he said, "Oh, it was actually pretty good," And so I watched it recently since I think it's on streaming now, and I think it's actually pretty decent. It kind of reminds me of a Pixar film, but it never really gets towards the deepness that a Pixar film does, because I feel in Pixar films they deal with a lot of real trauma. It could be people dying, or people were gravely injured, or there's some real trauma.
So what is this about?
So what really it's about is
and I know we didn't do that for any of the other films.
Yeah. So Paddington 2 is about this bear, and it starts off with this young little cub kind of floating down the river who is saved by these other bears, right? And kind of fast forward, and the people who saved Paddington in the river, it's their birthday, and so Paddington, his whole goal is he wants to get the person who saved them, which is named Aunt Lucy, another bear, the perfect present. And so that's his whole thing. But like, while trying to get the present, he ends up in prison, and goes on this whole adventure, makes a whole lot of friends. And I'm sure it sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Is this a cartoon?
It's a cartoon, yeah.
Okay.
It's a cartoon, yeah. It's a cartoon, and Paddington's like this. It's like a humanoid bear character.
Okay.
But it was actually surprisingly
Yogi
pretty
Bear.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like Yogi Bear. It was surprisingly pretty good, and like what I really liked about it was that like in the first act, they set up all these like different things that like like the mom wants to go on more adventures. The dad, the kid wants to do more steam engines and stuff like this, right? And they pay it off in like the final sequence, and I'm just like, wow, like they really managed to figure this out really well, like writing wise, I think. But overall, it was pretty good. It never quite gets to the level of depth of like a Pixar film because it doesn't deal with real, I think, pain or anything like that, which is kind of what takes it over the top in some of those movies. But I think I was decently surprised about that one. Yeah.
But how was the first one?
I haven't seen the first one actually, because it's number 2, right? It's Paddington 2. I didn't see the first one because it's based off this like children's book property, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know, like. But if someone tells me that it's good, then I might check it out. So maybe I'll leave it up to you to tell me if it's good or not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, but maybe the number 2 is not if you're bored, it's not a bad watch. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Let's see. Since you watched Annihilation.
Okay. I did see Annihilation, yeah.
What'd you think about Annihilation?
I thought it was pretty decent, but overall very, very slow. And I get that the whole thing's supposed to be like about a metaphor, right? It's about like it's like they basically go into like this place that's kind of surrounded by this like force field like thing, and that's supposed to be about like mutation, right? And I honestly I felt like I don't know. I mean, it was very slow for me.
Yeah. I think I think people were kind of comparing it to Arrival, but not really.
Oh no, yeah, that's right. People compared it to Arrival a lot.
But yeah, when I watched it, I'm like, this isn't Arrival.
No.
Like, in a lot of ways, you could say Arrival is a lot more sappy, and this one isn't. Like, I think I appreciated like the interesting stuff in there, but then by the end of the movie, I'm like, oh, yeah, I think Arrival is a lot better. Yeah, it's just. I don't know. I guess it's just a little too arty farty. Okay. I don't know. I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, I guess we have to talk about this. We have to talk about this.
Which one? Which one?
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
That's the mandate.
No. Okay. So, what are your thoughts on Infinity War?
I will tell you when I finish the movie.
Oh no!
When I watched the second part of the movie.
Wait. So you haven't seen? So you've seen it, right?
Yes, I've seen the movie.
And I'm also waiting for the second half of the movie. I feel like all these different Marvel things, they feel like I'm watching one super long TV show.
Yeah, and the biggest, I mean, even though I guess you could say during the theater experience, it's like, oh, I can't believe they did this, but everybody that turned to dust was just has movie franchises, so
they're all coming back.
Yeah, so it literally doesn't matter.
It literally doesn't matter. I mean, I feel
I'm more excited to know what they will do with like Far From Home, even though, as we'll talk about later, I'm probably not as excited now. But and then obviously now we have no idea what's gonna happen with Guardians 3, so it's probably gonna be terrible. So if that ever comes, and I felt like they kind of ruined the characters in Infinity War, and not the and I'm not saying the hashtag Star-Lord's an idiot. No. He literally did what I would fully expect him to do, what he actually did in the movie. I know a lot of people actually complained, oh, he had the choice. It's like, dude, like every single character in that movie had a choice not to give the dumb rock to them. They could have destroyed the rock, and they chose to hand it over to him. So like, you blaming him doesn't make any sense. Like if anything, he has the least amount of choice out of everybody.
He did. I mean, because he was the one that physically gave away the rock, the important one. He did come off as annoying.
Yeah, well, and then
I don't think it ruined his character though, but I mean, I feel like
a lot of people are like they hate him because he basically made them lose. It's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, if they weren't making the 2 movies, that probably would have been the end. That literally would have worked if they weren't making 2 movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. I want to see how it ends, but I feel like I'm more obligated to see how it ends versus I'm dying of excitement to see how it ends.
I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay. Well, I want to watch the better movies.
Yeah, they're gonna reset everything, and I feel like that's gonna make me kind of annoyed. But
well, whatever.
I just wasted 5 hours watching these things.
Just watched Bumblebee, which I know you didn't watch it. I liked it a lot, but it wasn't like the greatest movie ever.
Was it better than all the other Transformers movies?
Yes,
I heard it was better than all the other ones.
It was definitely better than the other Transformers movies. First of all, it is set in the 80s.
Okay. So kind of before the whole Transformers franchise.
Yeah. So,
right?
And I feel like they took a little bit from Guardians.
Yeah.
Especially early on in
with the music.
Yeah, there was a lot of music and stuff like that. And this basically felt like an 80s movie where, you have a main character, they're down on their luck. They want to do this one thing that will fulfill them. And then something happens that complicates that. That's usually what an 80s movie is like.
That sounds like a lot of all those shonen animes as well.
Well, I mean, those were from the 80s too, So it almost feels like you're watching like E.T. and the Iron Giant.
Okay. Those are both really good movies.
Yeah. I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but I think the biggest problems I have with superhero movies in general is especially the first one, is that they have to finish the origin story right before Act 3.
Yeah.
And then they have to shove in a villain in there. I mean, you could say it's almost like the same thing as like E.T. and what was that I say? And Iron Giant.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there are Decepticons, but
there's gotta be Decepticons.
Yeah. Of course,
of course, there's Decepticons.
But the first 5 minutes was amazing because it was like watching the Cybertron War video game. The only criticism I really have for the movie is that they clearly cut out a lot of things that you would be able to get away with in the 80s that you wouldn't be able to get away with now.
Like what?
So she's like the loser or whatever, but people don't really do anything bad to her. But in an 80s movie, they probably would have done a lot of bad things to her, destroyed her room or whatever.
I see. I know you don't care much about Rotten Tomato, but that movie has a pretty good rating on Rotten Tomato, and I kind of want to see it as well, Bumblebee.
The main criticism I have is that it's almost like, because of pacing now, these movies now versus movies in the 80s, in A New Hope, they don't leave Tatooine till 40 minutes into the movie. Here, in 24 minutes was when Act 1 actually ended. If you taken a script from the 80s and just did it now, what changes would you have made is basically what they did. But in the 80s movie, when you're watching it, you had 30 plus minutes of getting to know the main character and fleshing out everything. Even though in this movie, like I said, all those check marks, they checked it off. They checked out every single thing that would be in an 80s movie for you to relate the characters. But I guess there's no breathing room. They had to move on to the next thing really quickly. I think out of all those things that try to be 80s movies, this is probably one of the better ones. So
I don't know. I'm going to have to check that one out to see.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. Shoplifters. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen Shoplifters?
No, I haven't seen Shoplifters. It's.
Do you know anything about it?
It's about a family, right? Who, in order to get by, the whole family shoplifts.
Not really, but
not really.
But yeah, that is an element in the movie.
That's the hook to get you in.
Yeah, that's the hook.
It's really about the family relationships and how they're down on their luck and need to do stuff.
Yeah.
Is there a strong plot in it, or like is it kind of more like a bunch of slice of
No,
life episodes strung together?
There is a main plot, I guess you could say. It makes you reflect on
what you've seen in the
what you have
last
seen.
2 hours.
Yeah, what I love those type of movies that that kind of do those type of things. I guess you could say a bittersweet ending. Yeah, when I watched the previews, I thought that too. It was just about shoplifting, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not just about shoplifting.
So it's not the whole family shoplifting, which is what I thought that was like the hook in the commercial. It was like, oh, meet this family of shoplifters from like little girl who's like 8 to like grandma. They're all shoplifting together.
So I was actually worried when I was watching the movie because I was wondering if they were gonna be like, no, it's totally okay to do that, but they kind of folded in later, where it's like, yeah, you kind of reap what you sow, kind of thing. So
it's like so the characters like they acknowledge that like we gotta do something to live, but then at the same time this is not ideal.
The only reason I watched the movie is because YMS liked it. And also, one of my friends who's a little arty farty, she liked the movie and she explained it like, oh, it's this family that isn't really a real family, and then they take in this girl, and then you kind of it challenges your family dynamics, or like you wonder what a real family is. That's kind of how she explained it.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, I'm interested from the way that when you tell me that.
Yeah. So I think that's what I was like. Oh yeah, that actually sounds like something I would actually want to watch.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, a movie we both watched, Searching.
Oh yeah, that was good. Like I actually went to see Searching after you told me, or I think you wrote on your Facebook about how good it was, and I think you wrote that it was one of your top movies of the year. I mean, this was like back in June? So I think you may have even written that it was your favorite movie that you had seen so far in 2018. I really like Searching. I mean, like when I first heard about it, I think I had the same opinion that everyone else did. It was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go watch a movie that looks like a bunch of like crappy iPhone footage, they would have shot crappy iPhone footage or security cam footage, right? Or like, I don't know if I can watch a whole movie when it's just like two people like webcamming each other. But I'm happy that, they really managed to expand the world of screens. But also I feel like it was just really good storytelling. Like, I felt like I cared so much about, like, what was happening, and I was so invested in, like, the dad's quest, and I felt, John Cho did a great job. He did a great job, showing the desperation that he was going through to try to find his daughter that he was estranged from. And, kind of wrapped in the whole thriller element, and, it definitely had me guessing where it was going to go. Yeah, like, what did you think? I mean, it was really good, though.
Since most people probably haven't watched this, the shortest way to explain what this movie is about.
A dad, he's kind of found himself, disconnected with his daughter. And when his daughter goes missing, he has to kind of go in through her computer to kind of track down where she may have gone in order to find her, pretty much. Yeah. It's like something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I really like that the first 10 minutes is kind of like up.
Yeah, it was kind of like up. I thought it was so interesting how they managed to show like the movement of time, just using these like computer tools that we've all seen. So like basically the first 10 minutes takes place, a lot through like the calendar in Microsoft in a Microsoft computer, and then we kind of see like the evolution of time, and we see the events that happen, and at the end of the 10 minutes, something happens in the calendar that makes us feel, oh no, we're sad.
Yeah, I think that's great that how they tracked everything digitally.
I think like if this movie had come out like 5 years ago, there would have been a lot of people who were confused about what they were watching. But like when I was in the theaters when I watched this, there was this like, I want to say they looked about like maybe 65 or something, and just because a lot of this like these tools become so ingrained in our life, they made the comment that they were just like, we got everything, it's so crazy how this stuff is like, it's our life now, the tools that they use in the movie is what we're using.
Yeah, which I think is the intent.
That was the intent. I agree. Yeah.
It's just crazy that they shot it apparently in like 15 days, and then it was 2 years of editing. So I'm not sure what else I have to say about it.
It was a great movie. Moving on, go watch it. Great movie. My favorite of the year, actually.
Yeah. So, I guess my number one movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, I like that a lot. That was really cool.
Yeah. So, what do you think of it?
I felt like when I watched it, it was very slickly done. I really cared about that main Spider-Man, the kid.
You just care about him so much you don't even know his name.
I don't. You know, I want to say his name is Miles, but I don't know if that's true. It's not Miles, is it?
No, it's miles per hour.
Haha. No, like, so wait, what was the the main character's name?
Morales.
Morales?
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales? Is
yes,
that his
yes,
name?
That's his name.
Oh, so I was right. His name was Miles. I felt like they got the popular African American black culture kind of into the film, and I thought that was pretty cool since we hadn't seen a character like that in the Marvel universe, right? From that perspective. I thought it was in the opening scene. There's a part when he has to go to school and his dad is taking him, and his dad happens to be a police officer, and his dad wants him to tell him he loves him in front of all his friends. And like from that point on, I just felt like, well, okay, well, like you can really feel what this kid's going through. He's embarrassed to go to the school that he goes to. He's embarrassed of his home situation, and he's just trying to connect with people. And I felt like it was really interesting to kind of see how that played out in the whole movie.
Yeah, it was a little surprising that the movie was like solely his story, Miles' story, because I thought it would be a little convoluted with the other Spider-Mans, but they were basically just a supporting cast.
Yeah, they were very supporting cast. Yeah. Which one was your favorite, by the way?
Yeah. Well, of course, Peter Parker.
Uh-huh.
This movie finally, out of all those other movies, finally gets Peter Parker right. The one thing that the Tobey Maguire movies and Homecoming technically gets kind of right, he's always the underdog. He's always struggling, but and things never really go quite right for him. But I think that's more in effect in the Tobey Maguire movies than in the Homecoming, because Homecoming, it's like he kind of struggled, but then things are given to him, and that's the biggest frustration I have with portrayal of Peter Parker is that with Peter Parker, it's like the three things that you have to have with him is that he has to be a guy that's down on his luck, that never gets a break, and even if he does, like something always happens to him, but he keeps trying. He keeps trying to do the right thing. Like that's what matters, and I think most of the films try to get that. Second thing, Peter is supposed to be really smart, as they joke in the song. He has a chemical engineer. He's basically low budget Batman. He can make his own spider tracers that can trace people. He makes his own spider costume. He does the science work. He hacks into computers. Like that's completely missing from any of the other the live action or any of the live action Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
And the most egregious to me is Homecoming, because Tony just straight up gave him all his tech, including the spider tracer.
Uh-huh.
It's just so frustrating to me, because it's just like that's not Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is supposed to be the guy that's down on his luck, and he's able to get by making stuff with barely any money, and he can do what Batman can do. Like,
don't you appreciate all these like reimaginations though, like in an effort to kind of reimagine and to show us something new?
No, not really.
Not really?
Especially because they never done him right. That's the thing. It's that everybody. It's like Batman. Like one of my friends. He's like, oh, I love Batman because he punches people a lot and stuff. It's just like, that's not actually Batman. Like, Batman's a detective. Like, he won't ever get into a fight unless he knows he can win, and he's usually using the shadows to like trick you.
Yeah.
But they never show that in the movies. Like, barely. Like he did like minimum detective work in The Dark Knight.
He's not portrayed as a detective.
Yeah, he's literally called the
yeah.
world's greatest detective,
Yeah.
and they don't do anything with that.
So you appreciated the part when all kind of spoiler alert, when I guess the Spider-Mans go to that place and there's all it almost looks like that Batman cave, the part when they go to that place that with all the
Well, that was two Batman. That was the problem with that one is that it's two Batman.
So you
like I appreciate that he's like, I need to stick this USB thing that I designed to try to shut this thing down, because that's what he would do.
Yeah,
he would know how to make a hack a computer.
It, though? Didn't he steal it? I think he stole it.
I think he stole no. Well, no,
he stole it, right? He stole the information.
He stole the information to make the hack for the USB. So he programmed it. Like he stole the information to make the program.
I see.
It is what he did. He didn't steal the kill switch. He stole the program to make the kill switch.
What do you think of the main enemy who was designed the way that he was, Kingpin?
He's Kingpin.
He's Kingpin.
I'm actually a little surprised that, which I guess is from the live action movies, is like they actually gave him like a somewhat relatable motivation. But,
I mean,
because
I
none of the other Kingpins really have that.
Because he's just kind of comes off as this like ultra rich greedy person in all the other portrayals, but like for this one there was the whole
other than and in Daredevil, but
I didn't see that one. Daredevil. Yeah. But like I don't know. Like, I wanted to ask you, since you probably know a lot more about this, but like, was it realistic, or I guess for him to be so strong?
Because Kingpin has fought Spider-Man plenty of times, like including in the video game. Which actually, that's the other thing that I wanted to mention, is that this is at least 2018 is kind of the year of getting Spider-Man right, because it's not only Into the Spider-Verse got Peter Parker right, the Spider-Man PS4 game got him right. Although my main criticism is that they took too much. They loved Tobey Maguire too much, so they basically took the plot of or they took the Doc Ock plot of Spider-Man 2 and shoved it into the movie. I
think that's a great movie, though.
But
I think that's personally, I think that's a great movie. Yeah. That one.
And the third thing about Peter Parker that I didn't get to yet is that Peter Parker, he's able to kind of survive with a marriage. Like that's kind of like the big thing. Is that he's like one of the very few superheroes until he made that deal with the devil in the comics. But we won't talk about that here because you don't know anything about that. Spider-Man was someone that actually was married and was happy, and he was getting a little older too. So, which is this movie is the three things is that he's an underdog, I guess you could say, and with great power, and he's the tech. He's a tech guy, geeky tech guy, and also he's able to have a marriage and able to have some kind of stable relationship with people by the time he was older. So those are the three things that are important to, especially the older fans of Spider-Man. Like they it's like that's why they stopped. Most people that love Spider-Man back in the day stopped watching it, and a lot of those people like this movie because of that. Like literally one of I was listening to podcasts, and one of the guys like, is Spider-Man a like 30-year-old and is married to Mary Jane? Like that was literally like, and then it took us like, oh yeah, he is, and it's like, okay, maybe I'll watch it. Like because I don't care about these reboots. I don't care about Homecoming Spider-Man. It's like
Spider-Man as a child
or Spider-Man. I mean, I already seen it, which is why I said earlier, even though I'm a little excited about Far From Home, the problem is I thought at the end of Homecoming it was implied that, oh yeah, now that Tony is not around or whatever, or he's gonna be a little late, who knows what happens in Infinity War, but like it is implied that Tony is not gonna like do everything for him, so maybe he'll finally like like make his own tech and stuff. But nope, from the previews, and Nick Fury just hands him a suit. It looks like it's gonna be fun. It's the Zoomer generation of Spider-Man, where he just wants to have fun and do things, and like that's not really hashtag not my Spider-Man. Spider-Man like didn't want to be Spider-Man. That was kind of very important. That's why Miles is a thing, because they still have to put some level of challenge in him, even though he kind of is like that. He's just like a fun guy.
I mean, he's a kid, so
yeah, he's a fun kid guy.
Represent a lot of those.
Like he is the modern generation Spider-Man, and I really wish they didn't make Peter Parker into that too in the live action movies, but that's where at least we got this, at the bare minimum, at least we got into the Spider-Verse and we have a proper Peter Parker finally. I can actually be like to people who don't know anything about comics and only watch the live action movies, is like, yeah, this is how I actually care about Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man that actually mattered to me. Especially watching the 90s cartoon and stuff like that. And actually, one of the cool things is the Bat Cave, or Spidey Cave, is that you have one of the suits is the metal, is the gray metal and black suit. I love that suit in the 90s cartoon because it was like a metal Spider-Man suit, and he was basically Tony Stark Spider-Man. But that suit is in there, and a lot of the modern Spider-Man media never shows that suit because they show the other suits more.
Wait, the red one, right?
Or the Venom suit, or like all the other suits except for that one, they showed the Iron Man suit, basically the Iron Man Spider-Man suit, and not this one, because this is technically the original metal suit he made. The filmmakers being the guys who made 21 Jump Street and what was it?
Is that Phil Lord and Chris Miller? Right?
Yeah, well, they technically produced Spider-Man, and I think one of them wrote it. So
Phil Lord, wasn't it? Or was that the one?
I think so. Oh, and the surprising thing into the Spider-Verse is that there's so much. There's actually a lot of sad moments in it. Which I was a little surprised by. There's actually a lot of you actually feel for the characters' moments.
Yeah. Like there's a someone dies, and then not to give anything away, it feels pretty sad when someone dies, and then there's a really touching moment between the son and the dad.
This is a better Infinity War than Infinity War was. In a lot of ways, or a better team up movie. I mean, even though they are setting up sequels, obviously, with these type of movies, but they were just trying to tell this story of Miles, and then these characters just happen to be in the story, and they don't tell that much about them. Like, they tell enough that you understand who they are, but not they don't go into crazy detail about their backstory, and that's actually a little bit of a running gag. And all the choices that were made was clearly made in service of this movie, rather than most of these other movies where they're
the service of the 10 movies that will come after this one.
Yeah, rather than that.
I do hope that some of these other Spider people get spin-offs though, because I would probably watch them. I mean, I like how we got like you were saying, we got a taste, and they had a very simple character arc, but then we got enough of a taste that it interested me enough to want to check out their spin-offs.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, so I mean, I hope that moving forward in 2019 we'll have more, this is the way that they'll treat ensemble casts, and we won't have to have it'll work for the movie that they're in, and rather than setting up a movie or 5 movies later, kind of like what Harry Potter, the recent what's that thing called again?
Fantastic
Beasts. Yeah, I hear every single Fantastic Beasts movie, it's they're basically setting up for you to watch the next one, and they're just setting up the world, but that's about it.
I heard the first one, for the most part,
I saw the first one.
It was fine.
I didn't like it.
I don't know.
I didn't like the first one. Yeah. It was very cursory. It felt like, and it was a really cool world, but I mean, honestly, yeah. Anyways,
so I guess I'll probably talk more about these movies in various ways. We will find out how later. So see you guys.
Peace.
In 2019.
That's
now. Yes.
Should we do it again? I feel like I was talking top of you.
It doesn't matter.
All right.
I'll probably keep all this in.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
All right.